Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I have Priscilla McKinney. Priscilla, we've actually done a lot of work together. We've been in Denver together. We've been pretty much on stage together. And we talked about this subject, which is about the fact that there's no layers and there's no hierarchy in society and in commerce today. Before we get into that, just tell everybody where they can get hold of you.
Yeah, I am the CEO and what we call the Mama Bird here at Little Bird Marketing, and we love to talk to busy executives and help them understand how to control the short-term and the long-term growth of their company by developing a firm and sustainable content plan that will generate leads that are meaningful leads that actually really boost revenue.
And I need to declare an interest, which is that you are actually a partner of ours, aren't you?
Yes. All right. Because it's like the kind of partner that you can't help because it's like the biggest no-brainer ever. It's so fascinating that we met because of the things that we're about ready to talk about. And so our relationship is the embodiment, I think, of the new order of social and commerce and the lack of layers.
So we were talking, let's get into this discussion. So we were talking in Denver about how the world has changed. Changed as in commerce and changed as in society. And quite often what I find is that even though we do certain things outside of work, we get into work and then we immediately do the same things that we've been doing for the last 20 years.
That just drives me absolutely bonkers, but it is absolutely true.
If we think about we now have an opportunity through social media to contact people very high up. If we look at society, a day doesn't go by, certainly from the news in the UK, without somebody saying somebody said something on Twitter, somebody said something on social media. And now, whether you like it or not, the fact of the matter is it's happened and it is happening.
Right. Sadly, on this side of the pond, we have a lot of someone just said something on Twitter.
But I mean, if you think that if we go back to the fact that it was actually President Obama that started it, sorry, right. It was him that started it. If we think about when we were growing up, if we wanted to talk to the President of the United States, we would have had to speak to all kinds of layers of hierarchy. Whether you'd have to go to the whichever party they're in, or your congressman, or talk to, and you would never be able to get to that person. But actually, right now, through starting with Obama, you could actually talk to the President of the United States.
Well, yeah, and it's not only a one-way platform. When you say talk to them, it's not just hear from them. It's this, and it's another thing to, I talked at them, kind of like I sent a letter to the White House. No, you're actually talking to them. They are the person in control of that channel. And I liken that a lot to LinkedIn because Twitter and LinkedIn they're interesting in terms of all of the other options for channels and social, because you are highly more likely to be directly speaking to the owner of the channel. Even people who have layers of several, personal assistants, very often they are still answering their own LinkedIn and their own Twitter channel. And there is nothing, there's really no other places where that is happening on that deep of a level.
So if you think about, if let's move out of society and think about the world of commerce, because it tends to be a little less fraught with people's emotion. And if we think about, when I first started in sales, you would have to get through somebody who was important. You always had this, I've got to go through the assistant. And, there's a whole people who make a living on how to manipulate their way through the assistant. Or what you're doing is that you're positioning yourself on email. Again, it's very easy just to press a button and delete. Whereas on social channels, you can actually go to the person direct. Right. And yes, if you don't look right, you will look like a spammer and they will reject you. Or so, I mean, Steve Rafferty is a great example. I interviewed him just the other week. Steve's now the sales leader in Ring Central, but he was the CEO of Avaya in the UK. And I went to him directly, and he actually talks in the Tim Talks about what he felt from his side about what I did in terms of, and he said, I've got to meet this guy. I actually use your LinkedIn profile as an example for people, where in the past, the problem that we've had with sales is that I come to you, I pitch to you my service. You first of all will come to a conclusion about me before I start pitching, and then I pitch, and then you jump to a conclusion, and then you say yes or no or whatever. Whereas what I do with your profile is I show people your LinkedIn profile, and then I say to them, what do you think? And they say, I need to meet Priscilla. And I say, yeah, but what happens if Priscilla is actually going to pitch to you her services? They say, I don't care. I just want to meet Priscilla. And so what we've done is that we've completely about turned from trying to force my profile and me upon you to pitch to actually saying to do what you've done with your profile, and actually people coming around and saying, actually, I'm happy to sit there and listen to Priscilla's pitch because her LinkedIn profile is so intriguing. I've got to meet the person.
Well, it's about, amplifying your humanity, because I think we've learned, over time, that was the old wisdom, is bring down your humanity a few notches, come to work as the rote person. And the things that you were alluding to are very, for those people who like this old movie, the very Glengarry Glen Ross, this idea of I've got to have this list, like someone else has to give me the permission, the list, the contacts, the access, and that does not exist anymore. And so, we really, what we're left with is ourselves. And when we don't bring our real selves to work, I think we truly miss out, because, even if you and I wouldn't have done work together, we would still have made a very meaningful connection. We've had very meaningful conversations. As colleagues, we've helped each other out. And it just so happened that naturally it came into a partnership. Yeah. But that was not what you and I went into that conversation about. I remember that lunch with you, me, and Adam Gray. And it was very much exploratory, just very much showing up and being, the bringing the energy that you rightfully want to bring to that meeting. And I guess the question for me always comes back is, well, what kind of impact do you want to have on the world? Do you want to have the kind of impact on the world? Do you want to make it more of a robotic place, more of an empty and more of a shouting place? Or do you want to have the impact in the world where your connections are genuine and you were heard and you listen to others? And frankly, I'm going to get business either way. I'm good at what I do, but I want to have the experience I want to have doing it. And now we're in another era where when more of us take this lead, where you and I are going, and where we bring other people's along, at some point, the people who are doing it the other way are not going to be getting the business. The gap is going to become so great at some point that there is going to be a breaking point.
And I think, your LinkedIn profile is a great example of people will come to you and go, Priscilla, I wouldn't get on with Priscilla. And that's fine, because one of the things that we learn as we get older is actually not everybody is going to get on with us. And Adam Gray always tells a story about, so what you're going to do is you have all these salespeople running around, at the top of the funnel, basically trying to push things down the funnel. And what they're doing is that they're expending a lot of energy. We only have 220 days a year in which to do our number. And we're spending all that time talking to people that are never going to buy from us.
Right.
And what you've been able to encapsulate is the fact that not only have you got a LinkedIn profile that will pull people in, but you also have a LinkedIn profile that will reject the people that don't want to deal business with you. Because Because Adam always tells a story about, you drive for 2 hours to have a 1 hour meeting to meet somebody where you know that you're never going to do business with them, and then drive 2 hours back again. So you've wasted 5 hours or even a day. Whereas what you've created, in effect, is a filter to say all the people that I will never get on with and I will never sell to, I've filtered out. All the people that I will do business and I will be able to sell to, I'm going to filter in. And we've never been able to do that before either.
Well, there's a small mindset shift right there. And I would even dare to say there is no funnel anymore.
I agree.
But there is a filter. And I do like that, because it doesn't mean that there's not a sales process or whatever. The reality is that there is no sales process that you as the salesperson are dictating. There is a sales process, but it is one that the consumer is dictating. And so going along on that journey and being a person who can show up and be a great companion on that journey as they discover what they want and what they want to buy, that is different. So there is a filter. And I would go even a little bit further and tell you an interesting story. I was talking to my two besties, and I said something about someone who really didn't take a liking to me, which is, hello, welcome adulting. And I said, well, I'm not for everyone. And she turned around and said to me, well, you're for us. And I thought, that's an interesting human connection where two of my best friends would go, yeah, you're for us. But I also thought about that a little bit longer. And I want to cultivate relationships where people say she's for us. The things that she does are overtly helpful to us.
Yeah.
The things that she brings to the table are amplifying our humanity. They are also helping us realize our goals, because you can be human and have meaningful connection and make a crap ton of money. And so being along on that journey with people is super fun. But you're right, there's a filter where we've got to weed out the people that we're really not for them. That's okay.
I was reading an article about the CEO of Novartis, which is a life science company based in Switzerland, and he's a great believer in that. There's this term about servant boss, but I'm not sure I quite like that. It's more about the fact that your job as a leader is to bring on the people below you, and I always think of it. It's about passing on the baton. I have a whole bunch of people that who working, whether they're associates or partners within our global capability network, and all of them, I want them to be in a situation where they have as much influence in the market as me, or more influence in the market than me. And I got approached recently about, will you come and talk about digital transformation? I said yes, but actually there's other people in my organization that can talk equally as well about digital transformation, but in other areas, in retail or professional services. And I think that's important, that what we're doing is that we look after not just the people that we have, our besties, the people that are close to us, but also our customers as well. There's nothing more that I want than seeing my customers being successful, because they might spend more money with me.
They might.
So there is a selfish reason, but there's nothing better than seeing other people being successful.
Right. But see, that goes back to my friend Dinah Bowen, who you also know, who says how you do anything is how you do everything. If you are being in servant leadership to your team, you will also be in servant leadership with your clients, and you will look for ways that they can excel, and you will look for ways that they can come alive. And I think how you're leading right now as a boss, how you're leading, on your podcast, how you're bringing energy, to partnerships, to potential partnerships, even to people who, walk up to you, which this happens to you and I all the time, walk up to you at a trade show and really, quote unquote, want to pick your brain or have a question. You know what? Serve them in that moment. You are there. You may be the best opportunity. This is not going to come into any kind of business or money, but it is an opportunity for me to say, but God, can I show up for this person? Can I show up in the very best way I possibly can? And case in point, I literally just came from my desk and I had someone send me a message on LinkedIn and basically say, yes, I'd like to be on your podcast. I put a call out there saying, I'm going to highlight people's elevator pitch. So who wants to be on it? But the reality is that people have pretty poor elevator pitch is, and is it because I'm trying to get to an elevator pitch? No, but it's because I want people to understand, do they even walk into a room and know what they have to offer? Are they clear about it? And it's important to be clear so you can get off that dime quickly and get engaged with the person who's there. Not because you got to nail that elevator pitch and, that's the thing that's going to bring the sales. But funny enough, I put that out, and sure enough, someone who I know from a conference said, how do I develop that? And got to the CEO of an agency that teaches companies how to do this and asks me, that, and she has that kind of access. That's just case in point, to the way that you can reach people with your pressing questions.
And I think that in the past, what we've done is that we've used hierarchy as a way of not doing something because the person was too high or whatever. Yeah. And maybe it's because I'm just stupid and I just go and ask people questions. But
or the age old, I need a sales slick in order to go do this. It's the same. It doesn't matter. Every era it changes. There's another crutch, right? Why we can't just go out and build relationships and ask the question and get the access. So just for example, when people, we do a lot of branding work and a lot of, print and things like this, and every time a client asks me and says, well, can you put together a sales packet? And I'm like, I love money and I can put together a sales packet. But my first question is why? Why are we doing this? Are you sure you want to spend? I don't think we want to spend this money. Let's just stop for a minute. Why are we doing this? Because more often than not, a sales packet or a sales slick or a promotional piece is almost always an excuse for not actually showing up and being the person that you can be in a business relationship.
Yeah, we've been asked to do what they called sales folders and things, and we've turned it down because usually what happens is that it's not what usually what happens, but what happens is you give it to somebody and they go, yeah, that's really interesting, but that will work for Priscilla, but it won't work for me because I cover. She only has one account and I have multiple accounts. She has multiple accounts and I only have one account, or she's federal and I'm small and medium enterprise. And what people will do
as opposed to showing up the way you show up and getting known in an industry. And I have people, I'm not joking, they'll know who it is when I say this story, but they walked up to me and said, we don't totally get what you do, but Priscilla, we've got to figure out a way to work with you. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll sit down and explain what I do and we'll find out a way. But this is the approach. I didn't lead with everything that I do and shoving things down people's throats. And you know what? Even in that conversation, if I can't help them, I'll tell them that. But that is, the new order of things where people just say, it's you. I want to work with you. And I want them to feel that way about my team. They look at my team and say, I want to work with them. They are going to be conscientious. They are going to be caring. They're going to bring meaning to a conversation. They're not going to be afraid to go through the layers and say the hard thing. And that's the kind of relationships I want with my clients. And so that is the kind of bait I need to use. And I kind of use that explanation a little bit, is that, you get the kind of fish depending on the bait you use. And if you want to be salesy and swarmy and slick and using people, then you are going to be working with those people. So just note to self, that's where your life is going.
So explain to me this thing about bait.
Well,
I want to unpack this.
Okay. This idea of we want a quick sale with someone, right? So you put out your quick sale bait, right? So flash sale, or what's that?
30% off.
Yeah, whatever, and just even us talking about it right on a surface level, where's the value in that? We haven't even had a value conversation, right? So if you want a quick sale, you have to do quick sale behaviors because that's what's going to get that thing. But guess what? A quick sale, yeah, you might get that bump, but you also get a quick sale, which is absolutely transactional. So you want transactional relationships? Go out there and add people to LinkedIn and be like, add. Oh my gosh, I have 6,000 people. So you have 6,000 people. You have 6,000 people doing what? Doing nothing. Nobody has your back in that group, and where are you going to brag anyway? Who cares? But
I know someone who's got 30,000 and they're unemployed.
so that's what I mean. It's like, so you want to be transactional. We see that, in commerce. We see that in retail. We see that in everything. You want transaction. This kind of next step of, the holy grail in retail is loyalty. But everybody's also waking up to the fact that people aren't loyal either. That is a very, very difficult thing to achieve in brands. I mean, that you think about the kind of money that's being dropped into that. It's almost the elusive unicorn anymore, and people have to understand people are not loyal to brands anymore. They're loyal to concepts. Now, for example, Nike took a stand. They did a thing, they we don't need to get into it, but they took a big stand. Yeah. Well, people will be loyal to Nike for an idea. People are loyal to ideas. They're not loyal to brands in that same way. And we could go on discussing this, but, in terms of the transactional and the bait, it's about, you might be able to bring those levels up a little bit, but you can't get that holy grail of loyalty or connection unless you use bait that is connection. So, for example, I was just in Chicago on Monday. I had some client meetings. I went to Andy Crestadina's Content Jam on Tuesday, which was awesome. And so I had some time on Wednesday before I flew out. And I go through my, LinkedIn profile, had, in advance, had looked some people up who I might have met just on the surface. We met for a particular reason on LinkedIn. And my goal is always, if I met them online, figure out a way to make it offline. If I met them offline, make that connection online. Yep. That is just the most simple rule. So I go and I see, this is so funny, and I know she won't mind me saying this, but I have bumped into Ellen Yun from Zappy Store several times, and she just was a person I knew I would like. I phoned her up and just said, hey, any chance you want some liquid chocolate and a quick talk today? And she's like, liquid chocolate? What are you talking about? I'm like, you live in Chicago. How are you not eating, having liquid chocolate every day at Goddess and the Baker? And she's like, oh my gosh, I have time. I have a short window, 2:30. I brought her chocolate and I had coffee and we sat down and 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and we became friends. And I know people go, oh, this is stupid. This is sappy. This is somebody who is showing up with all of her humanity at her job. Now I know her. And, at first she was kind of like, this is odd. Like, what is this about? I'm like, it's not about anything. And she's like, I love seeing you at the shows. I love your energy. I'm like, I know, I picked up on it. You're my person. I thought we could have a cup of coffee.
So yeah.
And the question is like, what are my motivations? Do I have ulterior motives? Yeah, here's my ulterior motive. I want to live a life I want to lead, right? And, and in order to live that, I got to do those behaviors and use that kind of bait. So guess what? Now I have a relationship with someone. And I don't have a relationship with the company she's at. I have a relationship with someone.
If she moves to another job,
she'll still know me. She'll still know me and still like me.
Relationship with her, not with the company.
Yeah, for sure.
And so this comes onto the subject about earned media. And just I don't want to these videos last forever. So it's here we are in 2019, and Twitter have just announced they're not going to place any political ads. And the CEO of Twitter said it's about earned media, not bought media. Mm-hmm. So if we place the political ads thing, because I don't want to get people emotional about it, but it's about there's that saying that advertising is a tax on the unremarkable. And if you talk to anybody, it's a common thing that I do is I ask people, if I speak somewhere, is I get them to stand up and say, sit down if you remember the last 3 online ads that you saw. And of course, nobody sits down because they don't remember. It's an advert is a moment in time. And if you don't make a connection, which you're highly unlikely to, because most of us ignore them, you're not going to get them. So it's so important right now to have earned media. And I know some people may say, yeah, but I don't have any. Well, there is the old Chinese proverb of, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And you can start this, and you can start building earned media. And this is kind of, to use a marketing term, what you're talking about is creating earned media, and creating a bank of this earned stuff, where people actually get to the point where they say, you want this, you need to talk to Priscilla,
right?
Or if you need this, you need to talk to Tim.
Right. Which I'll point out 2 books I think that are key in understanding this. And even if this were not a podcast with you, I would say this. The first one is your recent book on social selling and really understanding the concept of change makers.
Well, this one. Before every podcast, it appears by the side of my desk. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, but I got to tell you that, when you look at social selling, what that looks like, the biggest concept that was the aha moment for me, which is why I knew when I was reading that in a subway, I knew that I would always connect with you, because I truly believed in my gut that what you teach about finding a change maker, it's not, there are not levels of this hierarchy, but also we're not necessarily trying to get to the top. We're trying to get to the most meaningful, the right connection, right? The people, oh, you're for me. We're trying to find that person, right? So there's that one piece, but also Mark Schaefer just wrote a new book, absolutely fantastic, Marketing Revolution. And if you do not get on this revolution, I'm sitting there listening to him one time, just going, please preach it. Could you just have an altar call? Because everybody needs to come to this gospel that is quit doing this behavior that you hate in real life, in your own personal life. You freaking hate it. You block it and you block it and you move around. I haven't even had a networked TV my entire adult life. Okay. And I had Sirius XM in my car, and I do all these things. I pay Patreon to not have ads on. I do all these things to not have ads. And I was sick and tired of being called an outlier. Well, guess what? I'm not an outlier anymore. And you can't reach people through advertising. It absolutely is dying. And I know people think that's super strange that I say that, because they still think I'm an advertising firm. No, we're a marketing firm. It's very different. It's very, very different until they understand the difference and walk away from this ridiculous behavior that is pay-to-play behavior. They will never engage in the true prize that comes from earned media. And that's from driving meaning, that's from driving value, and that's from showing up and bringing the kind of energy so you can have the kind of impact that you want to have in life and as a brand on revenue.
Yes. And people... Unfortunately, we're still in a situation where marketers believe that shoving their product down at you. Julie, my partner, loves Gap jeans. She'll only buy Gap jeans, and she'd love to have a relationship with Gap. But Gap doesn't want a relationship with her. What they want her to do is to either sign up for their email or sign up for their app. And with her email, she signs up and then unsubscribes, because all they do is just say, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. And then all the app is basically more and more coming, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. Now, I want a relationship with Gap, and but you're not giving it to me. We got to the point where they actually give you a discount now, but for signing up for this shit. And luckily, we're in the position where we don't have to take, and actually we pay more. She pays more for her jeans and her Gap clothes to not be on those lists. Yeah.
But now she has her life that she wants back intact.
But she says to me, we go in and go, guys, I love you. Right. And they'll go, who are you? It's like, come on, I love you. But you don't want a relationship with me. It's the same. There are brands. Bills is an example. You're a big. When you come to the UK, I've seen you eat at Bills because I've seen you post things on Instagram.
Yes.
And I'm a great fan of Bills, but Bills doesn't love me. Bills wants to send me emails. And I'd love to be able to go on a podcast and tell people how much I love them, but they don't.
Right.
And that's the difference between earned and paid. Right. And so many people just so many marketeers just don't get it.
Okay, well, let me drive that point home just one more step about the relationship, because I'm American Airlines, and you talk about, am I a loyal customer? Well, yeah, I'm loyal. Do you want to know why? Because it's the only company that flies out of my airport. So on the books, when they talk about me as the consumer, when they're in their marketing room, they're like, our loyal customer, Priscilla McKinney. It's like, no, you didn't earn any of that, really. It's because I don't really have a choice. Now, you can earn my loyalty by the way I enjoy the process, but this is so funny. You and I talk about this, about no levels, and companies not really understanding how to use social in order to engage with customer service. So I'm sitting there and, waiting for my bag that is, after an hour and 15 minutes, is still not showing up. One shows up, the other one doesn't. And I post, to Twitter, American Airlines, just a message and tag them. Well, they don't tag me. They don't respond to me. Okay. This is like on a Monday. I've just come back from another trip. They don't respond to me until that next week. I am actually, the next Monday, I fly into Orlando, and my bag is not there. Second, so I actually got up in Orlando and presented on Tuesday in the clothes that I wore on the plane. And that's when they choose to tweet me back, oh, we're so sorry. And I'm like, it's funny that you would finally get back with me today, because once again, I'm missing another bag, but it's not the same bag. And it's just this kind of moronic behavior is not in alignment with how people work. And that's the base of what we're saying, is that we don't want to be treated like this in our regular life. So why would we tolerate being treated like this in, when we're engaged in commerce?
Yes. And Mark's Marketing Rebellion book is fantastic. Certainly so from a B2C perspective, and explaining it, how so many, British Airways is a classic example of, they just still believe that they're able to, that the World Wide Web doesn't exist, that they can just carry on doing things and nobody will ever know about it. Right. And then what happens is that, there was an example of a cruise liner where everybody got diarrhea, and what happened was that the journalist picked up on it because someone tweeted about it. Right. And of course, when the boat docks, and all the people are coming off, the cameras are there and filming it all and interviewing people and obviously not touching them. I don't
want that assignment.
Yeah, I know. And the cruise line is going it's like surprised. Mm-hmm. It's like, come on, guys.
How are they not looking for this? How are they not on high alert when a problem happens, to looking at the reputation and reputation management? And it's not just about this selfish corporate reputation management. It's about, how do we actually connect with the people? We're trapped in 2019, but we just had the hearings this week of Boeing about the MAX, the MAX, 737, is that right? And the question is, what did Boeing know between the first crash and the second? When did they know it, and what did they know? All interesting. I'm not even going to get into it. The story doesn't matter. The point is, the CEO came to the press conference and he starts by saying, it broke me up, because even just thinking about it kind of chokes me up a little bit, because and I'm not defending him. I don't have a dog in the fight at all. But I thought, look at this, people. It's at a press conference and he shows up and he's like, I just want to first start by telling you how deeply grieved we are for the loss of life. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. Everybody at Boeing, it is so hard on us every day, realizing that our actions had this. We have to do better, and we will do better. And he started from this. Now, he got railed on from everybody at the press conference, and that's all well and good, and finding the truth, and I'm all for it. And victims really being able to have their day of saying what's going on. But he started from a place of humanity. And this idea of course, nobody wants this to happen. And you can say, of course, but it is not obvious until leadership says that and acts in a human way. And that, to me, that is totally beautiful. And that's also what I'm trying to do in sales, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, every day. It's no different.
And I think that leaders are human beings. Mm-hmm. And, if you look like a spammer, they'll treat you like a bummer.
Right.
And if people come up to you and they're snidey and stuff, if you want to sell me something, fine, but don't do it snidey. You just come up and try and sell me something. Obviously, I don't think that you should. I think, before you ask me to marry me, you could at least buy me a drink. Some liquid chocolate or something.
Exactly. Now you're talking.
But I think that most leaders, I respect. I've been in sales. I know what it's like. I respect people, but what I'm looking for is relationships with people. In the B2B space, it's about relationships.
Right.
And I agree with you that if you treat it like a transaction, you'll be treated like a transaction.
Right.
And this is about whether it's something that you buy one off or whatever. At the end of the day, what we're looking for are people like ourselves to work with, right. And people who believe in the same values. And right. I think, and this is the problem that so many brands have, is that they think they need to be something that we want to be.
Right. And I'll take it one step further. We're also looking for people who, I see this all the time, the one CEO or the founder, you and I are like this, we get it, but we want to cultivate a whole team of people who get it, right? And so you have this kind of high flyer CEO or who kind of looks at everybody and goes, well, why don't you get it? Just be a person. They're very, maybe there's a lot of confidence involved, which is why they're the CEO or why they're the co-founder. But just because someone doesn't get this, like even if you're listening to this right now and going, I don't work that way, I'm transactional, and and this kind of where you have this waking up and this aha moment of going, oh, and that's why I feel like crap after a sales meeting or after a conference. I'm exhausted. I'm not energized in any way. I just feel beaten up and slimed on and everything. If those are the feelings you're having, you talk about true servant leadership. It's about also, we're looking for those companies who will invite us in and say, I don't understand the magic I do. I just do it. I've always intuitively done it. So I don't know how to train my team. I don't understand how to open their eyes. And I don't know how to show them the way to start, having this kind of life, having this kind of business acumen that is truly, truly the new soft skill you must have. How to use social, how to show up properly, in business, that comes right after, being able to dress. And now with all the remote work, I don't know that we need to be able to dress for success anymore. We don't have that same kind of, I guess, stigma in the world. You can have the CEO of something, in a black sweater and jeans. Where have we seen that before? Oh, maybe it was the turtleneck. So I'm not wearing the turtleneck, but this idea of this soft skill, it's not just about, oh, I have it and I have it in spades. It's about, are you willing to share it? Are you willing to bring your entire team along in a way that you can make a huge impact by training 10 or 20 or 30 of your salespeople to show up in the world differently and change the tune a little bit?
And Priscilla, on that bombshell, I'm going to have to bring things to a close. We're at 38 minutes. So remind everybody where they can get hold of you.
Well, I'm always on LinkedIn.
You are?
I'm easy to find because of a name like Priscilla McKinney. But at Twitter, I just started my own personal instead of using my business one. So I'm Little Bird Mama, and that's MOMMA. And you can always find our company or, tweet us what we are doing wonderfully or horribly at Little Bird Marketing. And it's Little Bird and MKTG. So find me anywhere there. And of course, our website at Little Bird Marketing
is big M, small c, big K, INNEY.
All right, whatever. I guarantee you.
Well, the thing is that people can't spell my name, so Hughes. So, yeah. So, if this is a global thing, you got to remember that English may be a second or even a third language.
Right.
But I mean, I think the key thing is that we make it as frictionless as possible. That we that we allow people to contact us.
Absolutely, and I am one of those CEOs who respond to their own Twitter channel and respond to their own LinkedIn page.
It drives my partner nuts that I will spend time every evening going through my Twitter. If you want to have a conversation with me, you contact me on Twitter or on LinkedIn, and I'm more than happy to have a conversation. It's okay with me. So Priscilla, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Yes, I'll see you soon. We always find another reason to make another connection. That's the beauty of it. Thanks for having me.